All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our Sunday night show. This is the Night Terrors. We're back at the Ghostly Encounters, so we're kind of gone full loop through this whole Night Terrors experiment that I've been conducting for the last little while, where I've been rotating topics. So we've got the cryptid corner, we've got the ghostly encounters, we've got UFO encounters, and what the hell's it? Unexplained phenomena. So there's 4 different topics that I'm generally covering. There's lots of course, diversity within those topics, but it's just trying to give you some variety, because I was kind of noticing on the Night Terrors that it's kind of seemed like a more passive attendance, and that's cool. I mean, can't always expect, these incredible shows and, people showing up for them. But I thought, well, I want to give you guys the show that you want. And I got so much feedback when I did that survey on the polls. So you guys said there's a whole bunch of topics you guys love. And so I'm trying to rotate through them on the Night Terrors, which is our Sunday and Thursday shows. If you're kind of new to the portal there, our Night Terrors are basically hour-long shows. And so Wednesday, Friday, Saturday are 2-hour shows where we cover everything anyway. But it gives us a chance to rotate through some other topics here. And later in the show, we'll get to the Trail Cam Terrors. I got a new image pulled up for you guys to check out. I think it sounds... it's one that's, I think, is kind of creepy and weird, but I think it's probably not as supernatural as it is just something that maybe we didn't know was out there. But as we're expanding into the world around us, we're getting there. We're starting to push things out that may not have been around us before. So anyway, that's all I can say. But the phones tonight are not functioning. I don't know what the hell's wrong with this service, but it's getting to the point where if it's not reliable, I can hardly use it for the shows. So I need it to be reliable, and I do apologize. Not that we're a call-in dependent show, but it certainly is a nice element. And it's always a lot of fun when you guys can call in and participate. So unfortunately, that's not tonight. So don't call in, because I can't get to you anyway. There's no way for me to answer. It's just being flaky. So without that, of course, it's just me and the microphone. But if you want to catch my attention, you can do the ampersand, the shift number 2 @ and do Paranormal Portal. And then it'll give me at least an orange box that I'm much more likely to see and respond to if you have a question in the chat. So please do that. There's no guarantees still. I mean, I miss things all the time, but I try to catch it all as much as I can anyway. So I don't know if I did that right. Am I supposed to do it like this, or am I supposed to do it like this? I'm trying to look cultured. I'm just kidding. Of course, I'm just having fun. But anyway, welcome to the Night Terrors, folks. That's all I got for you on the front end. So stay tuned. Also, after the show, I'll be releasing the new podcast, which is a collection of some excellent stories that I found. So hopefully you'll enjoy the new podcast. I did some recording today as well. So hopefully we'll get a bunch of new shows up ready for you guys too. But that's all I got. So hope you're ready, because it's time for bed. All right, and I see a few new names in here. Santino Michelli or Michelli. I don't know how to say that, but welcome, Sandra Piper. Welcome. Where is it? Let's see. There was a couple more of this. It was Santino the Creeper. I think the Creeper might have been here before, but anyway, it seemed like a new name to me. So I'd just like to say welcome, and welcome to anyone else that's new here that I'm not seeing. And welcome, and please keep spreading the word. I love it when you guys help other people find the portal. It certainly helps us out a ton. So, Paranormal Reporter. Okay. Oh. the emojis. Just, yeah, I can tell you the emojis in YouTube chat are pretty bizarre. Oh, hey, Santino. Good to see you. Thanks again for coming in. Spoke to you today, mate. Oh, It's just gonna be ghost stuff tonight, brother. So we're gonna bring some of your stuff to the table on Wednesday's show. So definitely we'll get into that. But excellent. I'm glad you're here, brother. Thank you. But I got some ghost stories pulled up for you guys. Hopefully they're good. Hopefully they're entertaining. A lot of people think that ghost stories have to be, basically Annabelle or The Conjuring or The Ring or something like that. That's these fantastically, and most often, obviously some of them are based on truth, but they're very wildly exaggerated. Most ghostly encounters are very subtle, just to the point of getting people's attention. I think that a lot of times ghosts linger and they hang out in places. Maybe it's the house that they knew. Maybe it's just a comfortable place for them that they found in their wandering limbo of whatever being an earthbound spirit entails. And so sometimes they just want acknowledgement or recognition. So it can be as simple as, geez, where are my car keys? I keep losing them and I never lose my car keys. Well, it could be something's moving them. Could be just, you're getting older and you're got less memory than you think. But, so I like covering the spectrum because I think people expect this Hollywood version of the paranormal all the time. And most often the paranormal is really pretty subtle and sometimes easy to miss if you're not attentive. So let's get into some of these stories. And I'm not saying that's what I'm reading tonight, but I just want you to know that not every story is these blockbusting, shocking tales of terror. So anyway, let's get into this. This one is coming from Utah. It has to do with old hags, night attacks, sleep paralysis. And I got to tell you, of all of the paranormal type of stories, especially to do with spirits, or at least people believe they're to do with spirits, these are my least favorite. And not because I don't believe they happen. I know they happen because I went through them. But oftentimes they're a very repetitive laundry list. It's like you're sleeping, you kind of wake up, but you can't move. You feel like someone's there pressing down on you, maybe just a shadow by your bed, but you know that you're being controlled, and that's very frightening. And some people pray in their minds to get it to break. Some people just, will it away or whatever, but suddenly it'll break. And sometimes it's a pattern that repeats a lot. Other times it's just these one-off or, maybe a few times it happened and that's it. So they seem generally pretty much carbon copies for the most part, and that's why I find them a bit redundant. But I will tell you that if they are indeed having to do with a spiritual presence causing you problems or causing you to not be able to move or whatever, then I would say that you would deal with it much the same way you would deal with any other haunting issue. You can try cleansing. You can try having blessings done on the house. You can try any number of things, whatever resonates with you on a spiritual level. Bring that into your home and try to, push this negative presence out. Because once it starts affecting you when you're sleeping, that's kind of, that's really stepping over the line. That's not like, hey, I'm here. I just want you to know I'm Bob and I'll be over in the corner there. Okay. Don't, I won't bug you. Okay. It's more like, I'm here. This is my house. Get out. It's more of an aggressive act. So I think if you're getting pressed down in your bed or you're getting sleep paralysis repeatedly, you might want to try some spiritual cleansing techniques, whatever resonates with your belief system. So that all being said up front, let's get into the story. And it says, oh, thank you, Kirsten. Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. That's very sweet. I got a unicorn. She gave us a unicorn with it. Woo, gotta love unicorns. All right, one night I was with my family watching scary movies. Everybody was falling asleep, so we just went to bed. My little brother was scared, so I went up to sleep with him. I couldn't really sleep. I was the only one awake, and I started to feel the bed shake, but I thought it was just probably my imagination. Or my little brother moving around, and I fell asleep finally, but woke up when I felt the bed shaking even harder. This time I got freaked out. I felt even more scared when I remembered something. I dropped my brother off to school in the morning, and when I came back, I went back to sleep. I was awakened when I felt the bed start to shake. I got scared because I was alone in the room. So I went to sleep in another room and felt nothing. After I remembered that I didn't think it was my little brother anymore that kept the bed shaking, I heard that if you swear at the ghost or whatever is there, it would go away. I started to swear at it and the bed stopped shaking. I felt better then suddenly my little brother opened up his eyes and started to say, he's going to come back. And he kept repeating this, and I kept asking him what he was talking about. And then he just closed his eyes and started snoring again. I told my friends and family, and they got creeped out. Yeah, that is creepy. Now, that's a cultural thing. I just want to bring that to the table, that different cultures respond to hauntings in different ways. So, at least in China, one of the ways you are supposed to react to spiritual presences, if you're being scared or startled, is to get angry at the ghost. Yeah, cussing and swearing and casting all that negative energy at them to push them away. And I don't know, because then you go to the Arabic cultures that practiced Islam, and it's, Bismillah, and God is great and all that stuff. And you'll see it all the time on like Nuke's Top Fives or whatever, when they're covering someone from an Arabic culture. You'll see them go into prayer right away. And it's very common that people deal with it that way. But if you ever watch the ones from China, man, those guys get all mad. And then sometimes I don't think I've ever seen it work on those videos, because it's not like, oh, then it got better and they were gone. Excuse me. But they believe that that's one way to deal with a negative presence, is to get raging mad at it and start screaming. So when you see that in the videos, that's what you're checking out, is that cultural recipe for handling that kind of terror. But pretty creepy story. Actually, that one wasn't as boring as I was anticipating. All right, here's another one, and this one's coming from California. And this is, this one has to do with Ouija boards. Yikes. All right. My name is Marie, and this is my story. Yeah, my family does have a Ouija board, and years ago the box got destroyed, and we don't really have anything to put the board inside, so we just have it out. It's in my sister's closet, and when we first got the board, we were contacting a spirit by the name of Christy, and she was friendly and a joy to have in the household. But the years passed on, and we never contacted her for a long period of time. A few months ago, we pulled out the Ouija board, and we tried to contact her. She wasn't there. They were talking to something, but it wasn't her. I don't recall his name, but he claimed to be an angry husband who had been murdered by his wife and who also murdered her 3 children. Oh, jeez. What a horrible situation. He seemed to be upset, and he would just accuse us of his problems. We did also speak to his children, 1 girl and 2 boys, and they were also very young, under the age of 8. After that night, this household has never been the same. In my room, it's always cold no matter how hot the day, even if I have a heater. My closet won't shut all the way, even though there's nothing to block it. And on January the 2nd, I was in my room on my bed, and I felt like someone or something was watching me. But I shook the feeling off and began to read my book again. I began to hear footsteps, creaks on the floor, coming towards my bed. It then stopped, and I noticed an imprint on my bed. My heart started beating so fast. I didn't want to show any fear because I know that energies feed off of that. And I just lay on my side and began reading again. This is the part that made me scared as ever. A strand of my hair arose from where it was placed, and it was tossed in front of my eyes. It seemed like someone had meant to mess up my hair, and so it would cover my eyes. Well, I fixed my hairline and tried to ignore the fear that was building up inside of me. A few minutes after that happened, I felt a pressure on my thigh. I was wearing very short shorts. Jeez. Okay. Very short shorts. That's what it says. So I could see my skin had an indent of where the pressure was. I just couldn't take it any longer, so I sat up in bed and just calmly left the room. After that, I stayed out of my room for 3 whole weeks. I'd go in there during the day, but I would always feel an uncomfortable presence. I've been the only one from my family who's ever been touched by a paranormal spirit, and I don't know why, but I also at times, I feel like I can control them. Don't feel that. I was just trying to scare my sister, so I said, "Spirits in my room, go to Bella's room and tap on her walls." Well, she freaked out about that, and when she went to her room, she actually heard thumping on the walls. Well, she ran out and screamed at me for doing that. What does that mean anything? Question mark. So I asked, okay, you can leave her room now. She's had enough. And then we both went in her room, and it was peaceful the whole night. I'm not sure why, but when I ask questions or tell the spirits to do things, it seems like they do it. I'm confused about the part because I really don't understand why they follow what I say. Can anyone tell me why that is? No. I can't. I don't know. Again, I can't be sure these stories are 100% accurate. These are just things that I've found over the years. It's represented as truth, I can tell you that, but is it possible that spirits would respond and do what somebody says? I guess if there's an attachment, or if they're trying to gain your favor, sure. Maybe to lower your shields, lower your defenses. I think it most probably isn't a very nice thing. I guess that's my gut feeling, is that, first of all, it was being creepy with the hair and the bed thing anyway. But it seems to me it's trying to get her to lower her defenses. So we'll do what you say for a while, and then once you start trusting us, then look out. So I don't know. I don't think she can control spirits, and I think that's a dangerous thing to think. That's a risky one. But anyway, that's her story. All right, the next one is coming from California again. It has to do with orbs, lights, and mists. When I lived in Los Angeles, I had a friend. My friend was gothic and always draped in black from head to toe. And this friend carried something that was unusual, and I don't think she even had a clue of her paranormal activity. When I moved to LA, she became one of my very first friends. She was nice and witty about life, and read every single fashion magazine and was filled with dreams. And the only thing was that she had a negative vibe. There was a negative sense to her, and it had nothing to do with her gothic side. She had a dark cloud, and everywhere she went, that cloud became her shadow. I started noticing that when my friend would come over to visit me, strange little lights would begin to appear the moment she would leave my apartment. It was really weird. One night we'd said our goodbyes, and I went into the kitchen to snack, and when on the cupboards and around the sink area, I started to notice little lights. People now call them orbs, and it looked like something or someone was holding a flashlight, and it was going crazy with it all over the kitchen. The deal is I was alone that night, and there was nothing in the kitchen that could explain those lights. I didn't pay it much attention because I really wasn't scared. Whenever I had other company, I never saw those lights. Those floating lights only appeared when my gothic friend visited me. I know this for a fact because I was trying to keep track of what was going on. I was trying to figure out why I kept seeing those lights in the kitchen. I started noticing that those lights would also appear in the living room. I'll describe them as 10 to 12 white little light circles at once, floating in areas and bouncing all over the place. And I would remain in one single area looking at them and breaking my head wondering what was causing them. I'd look around my apartment and couldn't see any shiny thing that could reflect that light. And it couldn't be the mirror, because if that were the case, which it wasn't, then why would a mirror reflect bouncing lights? I've moved plenty of times in all these places I've lived, and I've never seen those bouncing little lights anywhere else. I've been told that these bouncing little lights are sometimes a spirit or ghost. But what I question is, if it's a spirit or ghost, why are there 10 or 12 little lights going on at once? I really believe my gothic friend had something to do with all that strangeness, because once I moved and she didn't come around anymore, I never saw those little lights again. I'm living in a house right now with ghostly activity, and I don't see any bouncing little lights anywhere. Wow, that is intense. I don't know if those would be orbs or not. I mean, I guess they could be. Many times you'll watch, people present evidence, whether it's on one of the television shows or whatever, and you'll see these little dots of light that seem to move, maybe intelligently. They could possibly be energetic lights, but they could also be a number of other kind of things, like oftentimes dust as far as recording on a camera. Now, this person is seeing these lights with their own eyes, but I've heard many different claims about orbs. And one of the biggest things that sticks out to me is that there is quite a variation in size. There's people that have reported seeing orbs the size of basketballs. And there's other people that have seen orbs. Now, I'm talking about the ones in the house, not like the ones in the forest that could be, much bigger still. But my point being is that they see these lights that can be any number of sizes. I don't know that the size is relevant as to what it is. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But it does, I have witnessed orbs myself, and 2 times on 2 different occasions, and I've shared that many times on the show, so I don't mean to continue to be redundant about it, but one time was just I was sitting on my living room floor, and an orb of light came from my left to my right, floating right in front of my face. Looked like about the size of a quarter, except it was like a little sun, except obviously not this bright, and looked very similar to that the second time I saw it, which was over a decade or so later in the house that I'm in now. I was scooting along the floor about a foot off the ground, and came up to my legs and went around, and then was just gone. So I've seen on 2 occasions that I know were absolutely vivid and real. That those were orbs. Now, is it the same one? Is it the same thing that could be following me? I don't know. But I find it curious, the description of the bouncing lights. I don't know what that means or, what that could entail. But I wonder if it could even be, I don't know, maybe just a residual kind of energy that follows that person, or, with that gothic friend. I don't know. That's very curious. That's a new description to me, so I don't know what to say for sure. But it's definitely a first time I've heard that one. All right, let's go on to the next one, folks. And this time we're going to New York. And this one's kind of a longer one. Yeah, quite a bit longer. Sometimes these longer stories are absolutely fantastic and can be pretty sensational, but we'll see. It has to do with poltergeist, physical manifestation. So that's usually poltergeist activity is really profoundly intense. But let's see what it says. Since we moved to Fort Hamilton in Brooklyn, New York in May 2006, and we were left there in April 2008, and we left there in April 2008. During the time that we lived there, we had several things happen in our apartment. I'll begin with the very first encounter I had. We moved into our apartment only 24 hours after we arrived because it would save money. We couldn't have our dog in lodging with us, and we knew we would be fine just sleeping in air mattresses for a few days. The next morning I got up and decided to go get a shower. I thought I saw somebody calling in. Again, if you're trying to call, I can't answer the phones. The phones aren't working for me, so I do apologize. But the next morning I got up and decided to go get a shower and to get ready to run some errands. I was in our bathroom drying my hair at the back of the apartment when I felt 2 tugs on the back of my shirt. I expected to see my 5-year-old daughter standing there when I turned around, and to my surprise, no one was there. When I got done, I went out into the living room where my husband had both kids and our dog playing on the floor. So I took my husband aside and asked him if either of the kids had come into our bedroom. And he said, no, why? So I told him, and he just looked at me and said, already? I said, I guess they wanted to get my attention. After that, I was fully aware of what else may happen, and I rarely questioned anything out of the ordinary. We had knocks on the door, and no one was waiting to come in. Whenever someone knocks on the door, my dog lets out a grunt instead of a full-blown bark, unless they ring the doorbell. There were several instances of hearing someone knock on the door, and she'd be grunting away, and when we opened it, nobody was there. Me or my husband looked to see if anyone was outside or running down the street just playing a prank on us, and we never found anyone. Then there were the times where she'd be laying on the floor and something would catch her eye, and she'd stare and move her head like she was following something walking around. And then she'd look at me as if to say, "You can't see that?" It was a little unsettling because, especially when she watched it move and appeared to go behind where I was sitting. The strangest thing that went on was the knocking on my headboard or nightstand, right before it sounded like everything in the closet fell off the shelves at once. This never happened when my husband or kids were home. I thought I was dreaming the first time it happened because it seemed weird like my dreams often are. But when it happened again, and again I knew that something else caused it, it was either in our bedroom, walk-in closet, or the hallway closet right outside our bedroom. It was 4 or 5 months after we moved in when this happened for the first time. I'd gotten the kids off to school and went to lie back down for a little while. I don't know how long I was asleep, but I was awoken to the sound of someone knocking on my nightstand right next to my head. It jolted me awake, and I looked around the room, and nobody was there. And it sounded as if everything came crashing down from the shelves to the floor of my closet. I jumped up and ran in there, and everything was in its place. Nothing had been disturbed. So I went through the rest of the closets in the apartment, and everything was okay. I didn't know what to think of it but I chalked it up as one of my strange dreams or maybe really noisy neighbors. Told myself it was nothing, and then it happened again right after we rearranged the bedroom. And again, I was woken up to the sound of knocking on wood, but it came from my headboard this time. Just like before, it sounded like everything in my closet came crashing down. I go in there to check it out, and nothing is out of place. This time it shook me up a little bit, so I called my husband and asked if he could come by the apartment. He was on patrol, he's an MP in the Army, and wasn't busy, so he came straight home. I explained what I heard and told him this was the second time it happened, so he took a look around and came up with nothing. What could he have done anyway? Shoot at something that you can't see? Things were quiet for a couple of months, with no new experiences at all. Then one morning, about a week before my brother-in-law passed away, in September of 2007, I got woken up to the knocking again. But this time it was very loud, and it came from my headboard. It made my bed shake. I sat up and looked around and then came to the crashing sound. But it came from the hallway closet outside of our bedroom. We had luggage, Rubbermaids, kids' sports equipment, coolers, all kinds of random stuff stacked up in there, and then it sounded like everything fell onto the closet door. When I finally got the nerve to go look, again, nothing was out of place. Now it was more of an annoyance than anything, like they were just playing a game with me or something. Like most of the past incidents, I was the only one at home except for the dog. We got our orders to move and everything set up for the 2nd of April, 2008, and I was wondering if I was going to have anything else happen before we left, or if it would continue to just be quiet. I got my answer the day before the movers came. The kids were at their last day of school, and my husband was out processing, so I was trying to sleep a little longer, and I got restless before. I always get restless before we move, and I didn't sleep real good to begin with, so I figured I'd just rest while I had the chance. Yeah, that didn't happen. I heard the knocking on my nightstand, didn't even bother getting up then, came the crashing in my closet, and all I could think was, I should have expected it. That's kind of interesting, though. I wonder, since it's not really, it doesn't seem necessarily intelligently aimed at anybody. It seems to possibly be centered around her to a degree, but, she's not having anything thrown at her. She's not having anything aimed other than just the phenomena happens. Now, could it be that this woman is perhaps sensitive, clairaudient, and is able to hear the residual energies that could be happening as a residual haunting, not necessarily an active intelligent haunting? And the difference is, and again, for any of you that might not know, or if you're new to the show, an intelligent haunting generally is focused on people. Like the phenomena happens to somebody and may be physically aimed at somebody, like, you're going to reach for the door and then the door handle shakes, or, you put something down and boom, it's gone, and then you find it somewhere else weird. Everything is targeted to an individual, or at least seems to acknowledge the people that are present. Residual hauntings may happen if nobody's there. They're just like these recordings, these events that somehow psychically or energetically just repeats. And you'll see these manifestations possibly. You may hear, like a lot of times, footsteps might oftentimes just be residual. Some event that was recorded in the past of somebody pacing or walking around or running up to a door or, whatever. And for some reason that replays at, other times for whatever reason, whatever triggers it. But there's actually no intelligence behind it. Like, oh, they're here, let's do that thing. It's just, it will happen whether somebody is present or not. And I think it seems to make sense to me that there's both types of hauntings, and maybe there's more than just those two, but those two tend to be the general indicators of the type of hauntings that exist out there. But I don't know if that's actually intelligent or if it's just residual, but it's got to be intense. I wonder what the event means. It just seems almost symbolic somehow, like the knock, 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 and then the and then nothing is disturbed. So that's the part that makes me think, well, is it more of an auditory hallucination? Well, obviously it is, because nothing's disturbed. They go to check the closet, everything's where it should be. So what's the point? And it's hard to know, but we're just on the outside looking in. Nobody has any idea what this stuff's all about, but all we can do is just cast ideas at it, and maybe we're right, maybe we're wrong. All right, this is I'm not going to read that one. I'm going to skip that one. This one's another longer one. Let's see. Let me get past the fluffy stuff, but this story is going to come from Florida. It has to do with haunted places. Sorry. No. Okay. I'm trying to figure out where the best place to start this story is to get past all the silly stuff that we don't need to cover. Okay. Well, I guess I'll just read it. I wanted to share some of my own experiences as well. I cut out a little bit here, so and ask a few questions myself. I was reading what somebody else said, and they had told the person asking the question that their grandmother had taught them how to read change and what it possibly meant if they were heads or tails up. Oh, okay. So there's a divination method that apparently has to deal with the coins in your hand being heads up, tails up. Okay. I'm hoping to understand possibly what some quarters popping up in places over the past 5 years could mean. My husband and I were on vacation the week before last, and we're trying to figure out where to go for the rest of our vacation and where would be a good place to go. So we were talking about where to go, and I walked into a vanity area of our hotel, and on the shelf was a quarter. I said to my husband, "Here's another quarter. Did you put it there?" He said no. The thing is, quarters don't show up every day to us, but over the last 5 years, I would say 3 to 4 times a year, or possibly even more, for 3 or 4 times a year, or possibly even more, will show up in a place where no one would have put them there and not remembered. Anyway, I picked up the quarter in the hotel that day and thought to myself, wonder what year it is on it. So I looked at the year on the other side, and it was the year that person died we were talking about going to visit in the area where he was living before this person died. I was surprised whether it be by coincidence or some meaning to this accurate year being on the quarter. The person hadn't died 5 years ago, but much longer. The person who died, whom I'm speaking about, was a distant cousin, and there were other cousins that visited the area where my husband and I were talking about going to visit. To go back a bit, the issue with 5 years ago and that first quarter showing up is that we were sitting in a cafe made to resemble a diner cafe from the 50s. And there was a little player on the booth where we were at, and it called for a quarter to work it. My husband had said it would be nice to play a song, but he didn't have a quarter. He went into his wallet to get $1 to make change, and there was a quarter. He never has change in his wallet. Ever since then, they show up every now and then. Another strange thing is for the time we were on our vacation in the area this person had died during the past week, at least 4 to 5 quarters showed up in that time span. One time, one of our girls was waiting outside the movie theater for us to pick her up, and the quarter was on the ground in front of her near the bench. 2 fell out of my husband's pocket at different times when he reached for his wallet and pulled it out. He says he doesn't keep change in his pocket his wallet is in. Then once a few days ago when we were at the store, he pulled his wallet out and 1 fell out of the wallet onto the counter. Always a quarter, not anything else. I even noticed in the car just a few days ago, change had been in the complete circle in the cup holder in the car with a penny right in the middle. Granted, the cup holder is round, but the penny in the middle was really odd. I myself, since I was a little girl, have had experiences, some that have scared me, some that didn't scare me as much. I don't want to make this too long. However, my question at this time is, could the quarter I found in the hotel room with the year on it have something to do with the person who died that year? And as if to say, come on up here and visit. My husband and I were talking about it anyway, going up in that direction, or just a coincidence. I don't know if I believe in coincidences, and it's up to you guys what you think about that, but it seems to me that there's just a weird alchemy to life, and oftentimes what needs to happen will happen. And it can just seem like, just coincidence, like people say, but when it brings you to what you need for whatever reason, then there's got to be meaning to it. I don't know. I just don't like the idea of coincidences too much, because it would suggest a chaos to all of this. And I don't think that this is chaotic as we think it is. I think it's weird, it's confusing, it's troubling, it's any number of things. But I don't think that the events that shape our life are just random. I think that the things that occur to us, even the mundane, silly things, can bring us to a profound place. And therefore, are they just weird little oddities, or was it all just carefully orchestrated? Is there a guiding spirit in all of this that brings us to an understanding, or to a place for some healing or closure or whatever? Any number of things that it could be, but I don't think things are random. I don't think this world is random. It's hard to understand, and don't get me wrong, I grit my teeth and stomp my feet all the time just trying to understand what the hell is going on here. But I really think it's not quite that random. I think that there's definitely an intelligence behind what we're experiencing. Okay, hold on. Let me close that. All right. Okay, I got a couple more stories, and the last one I'm kind of excited to read because it deals with what looks like phantom phone calls, and I love that topic. I think that is absolutely fascinating. So, Paranormal Portal, what is your take on a teen going through puberty causing poltergeist activity? I'm on the fence personally. I think it's likely a spirit or demon. Yeah, it's hard to say. I'm with you there because, it is possible. I mean, we of course, most people that are looking into the paranormal to any degree, you'll run across the idea of tulpas, and those are basically thought forms. And I think that we are incredibly adept at manifesting our lives and the things in our lives. And, the idea of tulpas, of course, is like a thought form. Like the thing you fear the most suddenly appearing could be a tulpa. It could have been inadvertently or subconsciously created by you. It seems pretty profoundly wild to suggest to me that some little kid has this latent PK ability, psychokinetic ability, to just create all of this incredible havoc and chaos in their lives and to the people in their families and stuff, and go on for a week, a month, or whatever period of time, and then just suddenly be gone, and that person doesn't retain any kind of more expressed PK ability. I don't know. I guess I'm kind of the feeling that it just seems to me there might be some merit to that to some degree, but it still seems like it's very profoundly powerful. Whatever these poltergeist manifestations are, they seem incredibly potent and incredibly powerful, and second only to demonic types of experiences. And of course, demonic experiences are incredibly off the charts, like true, intense demonic activity where, people are several times stronger because they're, dealing with the demon and the vehicles can drive themselves. And, like demonic kind of activity to me is the most profound and the most terrifying. Poltergeist activity is pretty close though. Furniture, flying up against a wall and doors slamming and opening and, in quick succession. That's some huge things being affected by this spiritual presence. And I guess I'm under the opinion that it seems to me that it's not the same. I don't know. It seems to me that it is a different entity, but it may be somehow, there might be a correlation to that pubescent change, the amount of energy and hormones a person's giving off, and the attraction of these presences. I don't know, but I'm familiar with what you're talking about. A lot of people say that, and parapsychology would suggest that poltergeists are manifest by the living, by the usually prepubescent girls, but usually young children or teens that are going through those enormous changes, are somehow triggering parts of their mind that lay latent and creating havoc around themselves. Is that possible? Sure, but man, that activity is off the charts. So I don't know. And don't get me wrong, I believe we're plenty powerful. We have unbelievable untapped potential, but I don't know if puberty is something that would just knock that up and open the floodgates wide open. Now, it is a rare phenomenon. It's not like, people misuse the word poltergeist, I think, just about as often as they misuse the word demon. I don't think that there are, demons crawling in every nook and cranny and haunting people regularly. I think they're out there. I think that people have come into contact with just horrifying things, but I don't think that there's often. And if your cereal bowl moves or a cupboard opens, that doesn't mean it's a poltergeist. That just means something was moved by some spiritual or unseen force. Like a true poltergeist activity is generally incredibly powerful and potent and really apparently pretty terrifying. I've not witnessed anything like that, nor do I want to in either of those cases. But yeah, I feel you. That's pretty crazy. But great question. Thank you for asking. And thanks for framing it in a way that I could see. I hope that makes sense to you. I don't know if I answered it or not, but I'm kind of on the fence about it too. Could it be? Sure. I guess it could be, because I think we're very powerful and potent, but it just seems weird to me that these people are, subconsciously activating this level of ability, and then suddenly it's just gone. I don't know. Just seems weird to me. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Brent's theories on this paranormal stuff so closely aligns with my own theories. Oh, cool. Well, I'm glad. I mean, I don't pretend to be right. I don't even pretend to know for sure any of this stuff, but it's just things I think about all the time. I want answers to these questions. I want to understand this phenomena. That's the impetus behind me doing the show. I'm on a journey, and this is part of my journey of discovery, and I'm thrilled that you guys enjoy being here and being a part of it. So, all right, here's another story coming from Wisconsin. This has to do with apparitions, voices, and touches. It says, all right, let me start by telling you my nationality is Hmong. We strongly believe in the paranormal or spirits, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, I'm not quite sure what I've experienced. If it was real or just my imagination playing tricks on me, but it did scare me very much because I never had anything like this happen before. This may not be the best of stories, but hang in there with me. I believe it was toward the ends of 2004 when this event occurred. I was 3 or 4 months pregnant with my very first child. It was early in the morning, around 6 a.m. My husband left for work while I was still sleeping in bed, and I suddenly woke up to this very weird sense that surrounded the room, as if I was dreaming. I remember seeing clouds or fogs on my bedroom ceiling. I mean, it was so weird. I just couldn't rule out that if this was real. It was like I was being possessed or seduced, and my eyes were open, but I was so sleepy. Whatever this was did not want me to see them, or if it did, it was only meant for me to think I was dreaming, seeing an illusion or hallucinating. Do you ever feel like you drink too much and become drunk, but still wide awake and seeing stuff or people doing things too? but you don't feel it. And then you wake up, it was like a dream, which it actually did happen. And that's exactly how I feel at this moment. I was lying flat on my bed when I heard the sounds of little girls laughing. At that moment, my heart started to beat so fast, and I was very scared and sweating. As I raised my eyes to look up to the end of the bed, where I thought I heard the laughter coming from. Now, the height of my bed was high, so for me to see it clearly, I was not able to. But what did catch my eye was there was two little heads popping up and down at the end of my bed. I could only see the forehead, and they appeared to be two little girls playing and chasing each other. Don't forget, I'm still felt sleepy, and there was still fogs around in the bedroom. Then I noticed the two girls starting to walk to the side of my bed where I was lying. Oh my God. I was so freaked out that before they made it to my side of the bed, I closed down my eyes so tight and pretended to sleep. I then felt both of them climbing onto my bed with me, and I could feel them looking down at my face, laughing and giggling. At that moment, all I could do was close my eyes. This event lasted for like a few minutes, but it seemed forever, and the next thing I knew, I had fallen asleep. Now, I haven't told you this. These two little girls were Hmong. How do I know? When they walk around to the side of the bed, I was able to take a quick glimpse at them and notice they were wearing our culture, Hmong clothing. After some hours of sleeping, I woke up with not even remembering what just happened. I mean, I woke up and did my usual chores around the house and just relaxed watching television. My husband got home from work, which was around 3:40 p.m. We drove to Hollywood Video between 6 and 7. You know, this is an old story, right? It was already dark while I was sitting on the passenger side just looking out the window, daydreaming. And that's when I started to remember everything that had happened. I started to tell my husband about what had happened to me after he left for work, and I told him it was like I was dreaming, but at the same time, it seemed so real. My husband did believe me because, like I said earlier, in our culture, we strongly believed in the paranormal thing, and stuff like this occurred often to Hmong people. I'm very confused, and so is my husband. We just don't know what it is or what happened. Therefore, I'm very sorry if this is such a long and boring story, but I just got to tell it. And now I often think, is it because I was pregnant at that time, and is this a sign of something, or was my mind with the pregnant hormones just playing tricks on me? Comments would be nice. It almost sounds like perhaps, almost like I don't know if it would be an out-of-body experience for her. Like she was still in the body, but with the extra hormones from the pregnancy on top of, this sounds like a profound psychic event of having these two apparitions or spirits there. Was she really awake? Because she said she felt sleepy, very, very sleepy and in this like altered state. So I just wonder if it was like a out-of-body experience and she witnessed the spiritual activity around her. I don't know. But the fact that they were Hmong as well, I think is a strong indicator that it has something probably to do with the family line. Maybe it's some kind of family spirits that are checking on the pregnancy. I don't know. I know in a lot of Asian cultures they really revere ancestors and those that came before. And could that be a sign that some of her family was checking in? And maybe, I don't know. I'm just throwing ideas out there again. I don't know, but I like to ponder possibilities. All right, this one is the phone call one, and after this we'll get into the trail cam terrors and find out just what the hell appeared on a trail cam in the South USA. So this one's coming from Michigan, and it says, background on me, empath and somewhat clairvoyant. At time of experience, I was still in high school. It's occurred in March of 2009. I also own an original Ouija board, older than Parker Brothers, another experience worth telling. Experience 1, phone call. Paranormal experience, it's written like a logbook. Paranormal experience, : This happened later in the nights on a Thursday. I just got off the phone with a friend, and he called later on while I was getting something. Just before I walked out the door, I checked the caller ID /phone, and there was only one message. I left his message on there because I was in a rush, and after we got back about 3 hours later, I came into the message indicator saying there were 2 messages, the first being my friend. The weird thing about the second message was that it did not show up in the caller ID. Regardless, I played it and got a much worse feeling about the message. The message first sounded like someone was crying when this happened. It felt like I just got punched. The next part was even more disturbing. While the crying was going on, it suddenly transitioned to sounding like the phone was underwater. No more crying at the end, just an underwater type of sound, muffled, sounding like when you're underwater and something got dunked close to you, that type of sound. Of course, by the time that happened, I sort of panicked for some reason. My first thought was to call my dad. Yeah, I might be 18, but when I hear a message like that, I don't care how it sounds. I was scared. This is coming from a guy who laughs at horror. After the message played, the phone usually gives some stats, phone number, when it was called, date, etc. And according to the stats, the phone was placed 2 minutes since my friend's last call, which I would believe, but I was present when the call was placed. I would have seen it. By all accounts, the message shouldn't have existed, but nevertheless, the entire call left me with a feeling of dread. Some theories I have, after I calmed down some, I tried to come up with some non-paranormal theories just to try and explain it. Theory number 1, somehow my friend either didn't hang up or just dialed randomly, and I would believe it, except that even messed up calls has an ID on my phone. It's happened a few times, and there's always been an ID. The last call that appeared on the phone was my friend and not the disturbing call. Theory number 2, telemarketer and static. Yeah, I think I'd cry if I was having to do telemarketing too. This one seemed more plausible, as they tend to leave some kind of vague message. This theory was neither proven nor denied because they usually leave an ID saying something like private number or something like that. Number 3 theory, prank call. I had to include the idea even though I don't think it was. Finally, this may help later on, but when I have played the message through the first time, my first thought was that someone committed suicide by jumping into some sort of water, which prompted me to check on most of my friends. If I get a feeling that bad, then I act on it. Just gut feelings. I have only had feelings like that a few times, and when they happen, something bad usually happens. The message got deleted. My dad came home and told me not to worry about it, and I still don't believe him, though. Otherwise, I wouldn't be posting this story in hopes to gain some thoughts. Sorry for the long read fossiler. Yeah, that's weird. God, you hope that somebody didn't. It wasn't like a foreboding or a premonition type of thing, but God, that's so tragic. I'm absolutely fascinated by that though, because we've covered and we've actually done some shows just on ghostly phone calls. I might have to revisit that again because I think those are absolutely fascinating. And there's many, many people that have had these weird phone calls. And one that I found absolutely interesting was there was these people that lived in, I'm just going to paraphrase it, but there's these people that lived in this house. A lot of activity going on in the house. They would see an apparition of an old lady, and I think they knew the person, or it was a family member who passed away, or a friend's family member who passed away before they took possession of the house. Well, they had a lot of different activity going on, nothing over the top, but just they always knew that something was there. And they were all gone one day to go out of the house for whatever reason. I can't remember the details, but they came back, and apparently someone had just stopped by and said, no, wait, somebody didn't stop by. What was it again? God, I should get this straight in my head before I try to paraphrase it. But anyway, someone called them later. That's what it was, and said, well, who was answering your phone before? And they said, what do you mean? And they said, well, I called. I was trying to reach you guys earlier, but this old woman answered the phone and said you guys weren't here and to try back later. They were like, what? No, nobody was in the house. The house was locked up. Nobody else had keys. Nobody else was present. But somebody in that house, some presence, some spirit, allegedly answered the phone call. And I got to wonder, oh my God, how amazing is that? What did this guy just leave it ring so long? It just went, fine, I'll answer it. I don't know. That's really weird, though, if that's happening. And I believe that it's, very possible, very plausible. Since the time of electronic devices, there's been stories of spirits messing with them. And it might be some kind of function of the fact that these are electrical devices, and these are energetic spirits, for lack of a better term. Possibly it's very easy for them to manipulate electronic devices. And in my own case, my dad, who passed away a few years ago now, he ended up showing up back at the house, not my house per se in this example, but he made his presence known to my mom back home. And really interesting, because during his life, that man could not operate a remote control. He just could not sort it out. And my mom would always have to come out and get his things rolling. He loved Walker, Texas Rangers. So, but he would always call my mom to go do it. Well, one of the ways that I think he made his presence known was all of a sudden his old TV would start turning on. And as if that wasn't weird enough, my mom, one day I got a ghost phone call. I thought it was my mom butt dialing me or something, because my mom's number rang and I answered it and there was nobody there. But I could hear somebody coughing in the background, like a male. I'm like, hello, hello, hello. And I thought mom was, had accidentally, dialed my phone. And so I'm like trying to get her attention to, maybe she could hear me and then hang up the line. But I stayed with it for a little bit, but I kept hearing this male sound in the background and some kind of talking, but it was very subtle. And so finally I just hung up and I called back, to see if me clearing the line and then calling her would make her phone ring, and then I could tell her. Well, she didn't answer. And so I'm like, okay, well, that's weird. So I just kind of let go of it and didn't worry about it. But about 10 or 15 minutes later, my mom called me. Said, what did you want? I said, well, I just want to let you know that you somehow butt dialed me. I said, your number called me. And I said, who's with you? And she said, nobody, I'm home alone. I said, well, that's really weird. I said, because this is what I heard. And I told her how I had heard the coughing and the male voice. And it sounded maybe like my brother who lives right across the street. And she said, no, she was home alone. The phone was on the dining room table and she was downstairs in the shower when I called. There was nobody else there. So weird. And so I decided, well, you know what, I'm going to talk about it on my show. So back then I had it was one of the Night Terrors shows. And I was like, telling people about these weird experiences that my mom was having. And that was it. She had told me that his TV turns on. There's lights turning on and off every once in a while. Just this weird phenomena that never existed in this house prior. So, we all chalked it up to, well, Dad's just hanging around. And that's cool. It wasn't a negative or scary thing. It was just, hey, he's here. Thank you, Android. Appreciate it. That's awesome, brother. Thank you. But I ended up doing the show that Friday night on it. And then on Saturday morning, my mom calls me. I said, well, what's going on? She goes, you're not going to believe this. I said, what's that? She said, well, she and my brother were at their house, and in my dad's old area of the house, he always went to this one area to watch TV. It's a 4-season porch kind of area that has his TV and stuff out there. She said, this television turned on. I said, oh, really? She goes, yeah, that's not it, though. His television turned on. It enabled smart TV mode. It connected to the internet. This TV had never been connected to the internet at all. Not only did it connect to the internet, not only did it turn on, not only did it go to the internet, but it also went to YouTube. Not only did it go to YouTube, it also went to the Paranormal Portal channel. Not only did it go to the Paranormal Portal channel, but it was actively playing the episode of me telling the stories of my dad being at the house. Now, I don't know, what it takes for someone to believe this, but that is so many layers of impossibility stacked on top of each other in a big hero sandwich. There's no way, that happened just randomly by some form of chance. That was a very intelligent and very deliberate sign that my dad was there. Now, the cool thing is that he finally figured out how to use the remote. Is my reason for sharing the story. But very wild. Yeah, Chris, you remember that? It was true story though. It's absolutely. My mom sent me a video of her TV playing my show, and true story. Did it happen? Absolutely. I'd swear it on my life that's exactly what happened. So, we always look for proof, and I can't think of any more profound proof than that all of those things happened exactly as I just told you. So, I don't remember what episode it was to bring you back to that show exactly, but if anyone knows, please let us know. But yeah, that's another electronic thing. I don't think they have trouble with that. So, exactly. It is very weird, isn't it, Android? Yeah. But very true. And it blew me away. And I'm somebody that's had a lot of experiences in my life. And it was also heartwarming. And it was also beautiful because it just showed that he was there. He was still with us. And that I thought was beautiful. So anyway, I think that's going to wrap it up for tonight. But I'm going to get into the trail cam terrors. So hope you're ready to look at some of the trail cam terrors. I got another image pulled up for you guys that we're going to discuss. So, all right, folks, this is the trail cam terrors segment of the show. This is something I think is a pretty cool image. This segment is devoted to all the weird things that are captured on trail cams around. And, most of these images and things are going to be very familiar to a lot of you. But I think that some of them are very clearly hoaxes, but some of them really raise questions about what the hell are they. And tonight's image is this, and I like this one. This comes from the southern United States, I think in the area of Texas or Louisiana or somewhere in there. And this is a really curious kind of creature. Now, a lot of people would say, oh, it's a coyote with mange. And that could be. Now, the things that I think is very profound about this is there's a veterinarian down in Texas who was having trouble with her chickens getting decimated. There would be two puncture marks on these chickens. They would be drained of blood, and there'd be nothing left. And as this was happening, suddenly she caught sight of something that looked just exactly like this, that had suddenly started popping up in their area and was going after her chickens. She chased it off. She tried to trap it. She tried to hunt it. She tried to get rid of it because, it was just decimating her chicken. That was part of how she survived. And so she never could, but she suddenly got a call apparently from either the highway patrol or somebody that works with, in an official capacity saying, hey, there's this animal got hit here. We're not sure what it is, but you want to come take a look at it. And she did. And it was there dead by the road, this very same kind of thing. Now, she did have it. She had it taxidermied. And what I want to point out on this image is that there are two very distinct protrusions back by the tail, where the tail origin from the spine, where it merges into the tail. There's like two weird callousy kind of cones that come out, and they almost look like extraordinarily expressive scent glands or something. But she examined it and said that this is not any known animal. Apparently, they ran DNA on it, and it's like several variations of things that could possibly be a new breed, or it's some weird coming together of different breeds. But it seems to be that it could be a new kind of animal that somehow emerged into our world, and very creepy. And it looks exactly like this, and that's why I think this is potentially an extraordinarily genuine photo. I don't know where this came from exactly, but that's why I thought it was interesting and why I wanted to present it to you guys. It's about the size of a coyote, if I remember correctly, and looking at the taxidermied form that she had made of the pelt and hide from the thing. But it really does look bizarre. I don't know. It doesn't just look like a coyote with mange. So you be the judge. But that's tonight's Trail Cam Terror. I hope you enjoyed that, and hope you're enjoying the show. All right. Oops, we're not doing the news. What am I doing? I hit the wrong one. Here we are. All right, guys. So that's going to wrap up tonight's show. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you so much for being a part of this with me. It's always great. I'm going to be gone for 2 days now on my days off, trying to develop and keep improving the show and work on some projects here. But I'll be back on Wednesday night with Dawn, and we'll go after it for 2 hours then, and we'll cover some Bigfoot evidence, potential Yowie evidence that was sent to us today by Creeper, and he's the gentleman I talked to today as well. So I hope you guys will tune in then. Please continue to spread the word. If you're new to the show, please hit the notification bell and subscribe. Kathy Seamer, I believe you, no doubt in my mind. I have quite a few that have happened in my past. Oh, I don't know if that was to me, Kathy, or not, but thank you if that's the case. My chupacabra is much more handsome, Greg Silverado. Good to see you, Greg. I don't recognize your name, but thank you so much for coming in. Looks like a kind of chupacabra. Yeah, that's the thing. The paranormal reporter says, looks, now a lot of people are identifying this as a chupacabra from that trail cam image. And I got to tell you, here's the thing with the chupacabra that I find I find confusing. So the chupacabra, as far as I know, originated in like Puerto Rico or something like that. And it was described as this almost kangaroo-like kind of creature with spikes on its back, much like what a porcupine would look like, with a narrow snout and some fangs. And somehow all of these new things that are popping up, there's some kangaroo thing that's been identified, was apparently trapped by some veterinary students, and they took a video of it, and you can find that on YouTube. And then there's this thing, which is obviously quadrupedal, and it's something odd as well. I don't think they're all chupacabra, but I think that term has just been used to describe all of these new weird things that are popping up. And so I hesitate to use the term chupacabra because I think by description, a chupacabra is quite a bit different than what we're seeing here in that image, but maybe it is. Maybe it is. I know a lot of people are calling it a chupacabra, and maybe they're right, but whatever it is, it looks pretty creepy. It looks kind of like a, some weird little supernatural hellhound or something. But anyway, folks, that's all I got for you. Thank you so much for joining me and being a part of the journey tonight. I hope you enjoyed it again, and please spread the word. Please feel free to share these streams or these videos on our YouTube channel to your social media if you don't mind letting people know. Or if you're involved on Reddit or whatever, feel free to post episodes up there if you think people might enjoy them. Again, we appreciate all of your endeavors on our behalf, and we love you all, and we really appreciate that you continue to come here and show up and be a part of the shows. So that's all I got. I'll be trying to be real productive in the next couple of days, but I'll see you again on Wednesday. So until then, be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other, help each other out. Find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. I love you. Take care. Roll the credits.